is 3:30. Let's get this meeting called to order. Let me reflect that all committee members are present. And with that, I will do the minutes of September 24th.
Move the minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes. Okay. We are to public comment on agenda items. If there's anybody here from the public that would like to speak, now's your time. You have 3 minutes to address the committee. And please raise your hand if you guys do want to speak. So we're not going on a turn. This is a business meeting. We just want to make sure that we stay and remain quorum here, to quorum.
If they're here for something that's on here, you're just gonna have them talk when it gets to it.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you have anything, right now, if there's anybody that would like to speak, okay, Loretta Stanley, go ahead.
I have a copy of the revisions to the easement from Sherry. I appreciate that from her. And it looks like the city attorney did make an attempt, a good attempt to get the gist of what I was looking for in there. But I would like to see it tweaked a little further and tightened up a little further. I would like it to say no future alterations to landscape above or below ground without going through approval process first. So that specifically says above or below ground and no other alterations. In the document as it's presented, it reads that whether in the first paragraph, whether above or below ground, they have the right to do whatever they want. And in the last paragraph on the front page, trees or vegetation, it gives them the right in perpetuity to trim, cut down, or otherwise remove and control any trees, brush, roots, and or other vegetation within the easement area. So I would be looking for a specific clarification as to whether or not, we've heard two different things, so which is accurate. Are they going to remove brush and fence from Fenner's face or not? If they do, are they going to allow it to regrow or just keep cutting it down every time it grows back? And those would be my major concerns. My secondary concerns would be the money should be directed, in my view, to the cemeteries, golf course, or Fenner, rather than to the general fund. The price seems too low. And I would like to see the trees that are planted elsewhere be limited to parks, golf, or cemeteries versus any city-owned property. And I'd like to see the trees larger than a 2-inch caliper. So those are my concerns, recommendations, suggestions, wishes, whatever you want to call it.
Do you have any more public comment at this time? Okay, please address yourself for the record.
I'm Joanne Galloway. I live on Mount Hope Avenue. And I just want to reinforce everything except that Loretta said, with the exception of the size of any trees that would be used to replace. A 2-inch is actually industry acceptable and appropriate size. They'll actually take off quicker and adapt quicker than a larger tree would. In addition to that, I want to thank each of you councilmen for the time and energy you put into the considerations on this issue. But I think, we need to take more of a leadership role as a city, and that we should be consulting with our professional staff that we have on staff. Like, let's bring the forester in here and hear what they have to say about the situation. Let's also ask our planning commission, our attorney, to help us put together a baseline of what we would accept in utility easements in the future. This is not going to be the last time we're asked for a utility easement, right? And let's just be really careful that we're not giving something away to a corporation like Consumers Energy, but we should be more stronger representing people of the city. If we give the easement, we get as much money as possible in exchange for that easement, because we have places that we could spend that. That's all I'm thinking.
Appreciate that, Joanne. And just for the record, that was regarding the Act 3 utility easement at 2020 and 2600 East Mount Hope Avenue for Consumers Energy.
Thank you.
Do we have any more public comment at this time? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Heidi Fry. I am a resident in the 4th Ward, and I have comments on the proposed easement through Fenner. Couple of thoughts. It's unclear to me. One of the big questions remains is the valuation of trees. it's unclear to me or to anyone who reads the documents how that valuation came to be. I'm a professional forester, so, and I know we have foresters on staff within the city. There are several methods for identifying the value of trees because it's not just timber and so on. There are industry accepted standards. Michigan Nursery Landscape Association is one of those. There's also International Society of Agriculture, several methods that have been developed in cooperation with the U.S. Forest Service to develop the valuations for trees. What is concerning for me is that this easement proposes to take that value away from all of us, my kids included, all of our kids and all of our residents right now, but also in perpetuity. So that will remove the tree potential from this swath of land for many years to come for the life of this easement. It's not clear to me the valuation of these trees if that's been taken into consideration. In addition to that, there are additional considerations here with cultural trees. They understand the trees that were perhaps planted by Mr. Fenner. Those trees hold a significant value to our community in that they were planted at the time by Mr. Fenner and they hold significant cultural resources. It's not clear to me if that has been assessed in the valuation of that. I also want to ask, or I want to bring it to the attention of the city, that there are actually different markets for trees. So carbon credits are one way that the city could actually get income from leaving areas like Fenner and other areas as a sustainably managed forest for the future. I think these are things that moving forward in the future as we look to develop more income taxes, these are better ways to manage versus cutting trees down for various development projects, whatever those may be. The other thing I want to address is planting. There are various percentages out there ranging from only about 20% to 60% of planted trees survive, especially in an urban setting. So those are the things that need to be thought about when we think about if there are trees to be lost, kind of reestablishing them somewhere else. Should not be considered a one-for-one thing. What we do need to think about is the diameter that's lost and replacing that diameter lost. So a 40-inch diameter mature tree does not equate to a 2-inch caliper tree. And then when we lose that 40-inch diameter tree, we do need to think about that the success rate of those trees planted may not be what we think it is. So lots of considerations there, and I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit more about what is planned at this site and how that will be remediated.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Sure.
I'm Dean. I live on the north side, but I frequently drive by there. Actually, I just drove by there. I've sent Ryan and Adam both a video of the area from Aurelius over to 127. In 15 feet, we go quite a ways back, and I'm concerned about what's going to happen to all the vegetation, what's going to happen to the wildlife that's in the vegetation, and generally just how is this going to impact the environment of that area? Because I mean that's one of the big forested areas. As Ryan and Aaron or Adam know, I'm the president of the Friends of Bancroft Park, so I have a strong tie to the parks in the city. I'm always going down and bothering Brett down at the park board meetings. So my interest is in the vegetation, not only the trees, but the vegetation and the wildlife and the deer. What's going to happen when we disturb that? And the deer are going to be crossing. And how is that going to increase the deer and car crashes in the area? And what is consumers going to do to mitigate that problem? So those are just the questions that I have. That's why I wanted to come down here and find out, have we thought about that, and what are we going to do about that? It's not just replacing the trees, or what about the trees? It's about the wildlife. It's about the people that are impacted. Joanne lives in the area, and they're asking for 15 feet of her front yard. And I don't know what the cost, but I'm sure it's probably going to be kind of low for perpetuity. I do not think that that's acceptable. to in perpetuity. I echo Loretta's comments that it shouldn't be in perpetuity. You get a 15-year, you're gonna take you're gonna take the trees out, and then and you're gonna be able to just do whatever you want with that land for forever. That just doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. It's unacceptable to me as a citizen of the city of Lansing.
All right, thank you for your comments. Do we have any additional public comment at this time? Sure. Please state your name for the record.
Research your boy. I'm concerned about the loss of trees. The city has already cut down all the trees along Michigan Avenue and replaced them with, burlap bound trees that the success of their growth is yet to be seen. They're not even being treated with, water bags. We know how valuable, mature trees are in reducing pollution. Trees and understory along Mount Hope provide a sound and visual barrier for Evergreen Cemetery and Fenner for people who go there for peace and tranquility. It's already been disrupted somewhat by the bike path going through there, and this will be more disruption with with the potential of more sound from the street coming into that area. I'm also concerned about the fencing between Fenner and Evergreen and the street. And if that is replaced, we'll get guarantees that it will not be removed, or if removed, it will be replaced, because we would have increased danger of collisions between the deer and cars, because there's a lot of deer activity in that area. And right now it's limited because of the fencing, and that would be taken away if the fences are removed. Also, the understory provides for more biodiversity in the area, which is really important because the animals in our area are losing more and more and more of their habitation. The understory provides nourishment for the deer, for instance, so they can eat there rather than going into the cemetery and eating the landscaping, or landscaping in the surrounding area and people's yards and things. Also, what escape the Borden water light from future encroachments into Fenner or the cemetery, unless we have something in writing that limits the amount of time that in perpetuity is a real problem for me also. I think we need to get a limit to what they're able to use now, and that they should have to reauthorize to the city council again if they want to do more easements. I don't think you can trust corporations. That the sort of verbal agreement that we had with Sparrow, you can see where that went with Eastern High School. Oh yeah, we'll preserve this, no problem. And any kind of agreement from the Board of Water and Light without written and documented and put on the record. I think the city needs that to protect all our citizens for our rights of those resources that we have. The cemetery and Fenner. I mean, so many families are vested literally in the cemeteries. I have a plot there. My family is already represented in there. And my family and I and so many other people enjoy the peace and quiet and nature in Fenner. I would hate to see that limited at all. And just the last thing, those two magnificent oak trees at the entrance of both Fenner and Evergreen. I did a calculation based on diameter, and those trees are over 200 years old, probably 240. There's a formula you can use. Anyway, it would be a shame to lose those old growth trees. They're almost like the sentinels to those two public parks or cemeteries. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. All right, do we have any additional public comment? Seeing no additional public comment. Jack, did we have anybody online, or do they want to wait till the agenda item E?
I think
E,
Is
okay,
E,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
He was prepared to speak.
okay, well, we'll open it up for them then when we get to agenda item E. So with that, we will move to resolution B, the appointment of Jeremy Matthews, business representative member, South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Corridor Improvement Authority Board, term to expire July 31st, 2027. Good afternoon, Mr. Matthews. Appreciate you being here. This will be a time where you open it up, tell us about yourself, why you want to serve, and then we'll open it up to the committee for questions after that.
I've been in property management since 2009. I came from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've worked throughout the whole country, doing this career path. I started with SIPTOB in 2023. I'm going on to my third year, and I drive down MLK. We have over 200 units on MLK, and I see so many opportunities to make that area thrive. Right now, I see there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of speeding cars that create safety issues there. You have residents that aren't able to make a lot of money. And so I have a vision that in the future, I want to be able to share with other committee members and really try to improve that area to where MLK is a reflection of Lansing. It's who our residents are. So I would love to serve on this board to give back to the community and give back to the people.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you for your willingness to serve, to be here. My place of business is on MLK. It's where I call home for work. So I appreciate your willingness, because Martin Luther King definitely needs some people involved and taking care of it. I'm excited when this Corridor Improvement Authority came about. So you don't live adjacent to it. You are trying to see a regional position here, but business representative. I guess I'm just happy that you're willing to serve and look forward to meeting you. I guess my one question I typically have is, if you are appointed to this board, are you willing to go into the neighborhoods, into like a ward representatives constituent meeting and discuss any of the future and exciting plans that you guys have with the board?
Yeah, one thing about me, I don't fear conversation. I think it's important to talk and communicate and get to an understanding, no matter where you put talking on the same page with people.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to serve, sir. Board members, if you got any additional comments or questions?
First of all, thank you. We appreciate your willingness to serve. In terms of SIMTOP, I want to just recognize the fact that you've been with SIMTOP since 2020. The fact that we did engage in some litigation. There was a settlement in the summer of 2023, and things have really improved since. And we talked with SIMTOP, with some of the employees within SIMTOP. Hats off to them. They're doing a really, really good job. I'll say they did a great job of meeting the moment we couldn't be a part of that. So thank you. Beyond that, I was really excited when I read your application. I can't tell you how many times I've said similar things. There's this piece in the application where he says, across the country, many Martin Luther King Boulevard are historically underdeveloped, and in need of revitalization. Lansing has a unique opportunity to break that mold.
Yep.
Driving down MLK should symbolize historical progress and serve as a destination where visitors can come to learn more about the rich history and vibrant culture of our city. So I think of cultural experience, cultural exchange. Made the same argument when we were talking about Pleasant Grove and Homes, right? In the site where Malcolm X went to school, and whether that was a true testament to him and his legacy. So I really appreciate that piece. I think the condition of the corridor is absolutely unacceptable, and it's no testament, right, to the legacy of Mr. MLK. So what can we do to really drive that corridor forward and ensure that, particularly, it's an interesting corridor, right? Because you got this kind of hodgepodge. It's commercial, it's residential, industrial. But I think about regionally, right? People that use that corridor, it's kind of a lifeblood corridor. But I also think about the residents in the area that really, I think, rely on that corridor, right? As their families and their community's lifeblood. So I guess one question I do have, and because I think you're kind of uniquely qualified to talk about this, when we talk about from the residential aspect, what businesses right now, because so much what the corridor authority is kind of tasked with doing is helping create market conditions, right? To, as an example, bring in good, reputable businesses, goods, services, that type of thing. What businesses right now, business types, do you think are overrepresented on the corridor? And what businesses, types do you think are underrepresented?
Well, that's a great question. Fast food. You're talking about bringing income back into our residents' pockets, right? Right now, there are a lot of people can't afford to live, right? The closer the fast food is, you're going to spend the money, right? They're not providing jobs that's going to make their pocketbooks better. So I think fast food is overrepresented at some of those smaller companies, and I don't think enough jobs is going to pay well are represented there. I see it every single day. I talk to tenants every day, and they cannot afford to live, and some of them don't have cars. So MLK could be a good walking distance. Hey, let's get somebody in here that you can walk up the street and go get a job and work hard, make money, and help improve your financial prosperity. So I think that definitely good paying jobs is underrepresented there. Like in the future, I'll have more insight there, what I'm looking for. But I just think there's just too many jobs there that's just an expense for people versus bringing in money for people.
I think you also, one of the things that I was also interested in terms of when I was listening to you is I think you get the concept of the fact that this corridor is such that it really is kind of like it's kind of a regional asset, right? It's a state trunk line. It's, obviously it falls within the county and people from all over the county use this thing. Obviously there's a bus line, right? So I feel like you understand maybe the importance of the authority as being maybe a convener of these groups, MDOT and CATA, and the list goes on, and really bringing folks to the table, because I would really like to see the authority be a convener of those groups, and really talk about what does the infrastructure need to be, what does the streetscape, what are people's roles in that, what are some of the safety, some of the guardrails that we need up on that corridor to protect, as an example, pedestrians, to slow down traffic, those types of things. Again, to create kind of safety, walkability, but all, accessibility in terms of businesses, but also market conditions, to do all these great things you're talking about. Outside of that,
I think MLK's, I'll call it a walk. The property management, when you have a property you own, you're looking for a walk score. Hey, when you're talking to tenants, say, hey, you live here, you're in walking distance to these things, and these are great things. This is why you need to live here. And I think MLK right now, it's a low walk score for me. Yeah, if you have a car, you can get past it quickly, but we need to make it to where you can leave out your house at 7 o'clock at night and go to a nice restaurant or go to a nice venue to hear live jazz music and things like that, to where you like living here. And I want to bring that back. It benefits everyone when it's that way.
I guess the only other thing I'd ask is, you talk about kind of the commitment to getting out into the neighborhoods and sharing this. I'm just going to ask too, I really want to see the folks on these authorities be really active in terms of getting into the business along the corridors. And I think of some of the new businesses, I think of James DeFries over at 6030 South MLK with 517. Hopefully you've been in there. If not, if you could commit to that, just going and talking to those guys. Visits you need 5334 South MLK, a lot of, and then obviously go all the way north to the end of that development district. But I think we need that too. Folks that are really in touch with the needs of folks that have already invested. They're trying to protect their investment, maybe grow their investment. So if you can make that commitment, we'd appreciate that too. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from committee?
Just quickly, I ask everyone this. Do you have time to serve on the board?
Oh, yeah.
Selected, okay. And the other thing, I'll make a comment, challenge to you, because I'm going to go vote yes on this. I think when Councilmember Hussein was asking you overrepresented, underrepresented, I think that there is on that corridor a extreme overrepresentation of liquor stores.
Yes.
Payday advance stores. I think I agree with you on the fast food. That seems to be just north of Holmes, really, and then on the other side of 96. So I would put a challenge to you to work hard to start. It sounds like you want to fill those gaps, and what we don't need are more party stores and things like that. We need, businesses, as you said, where people can get actual jobs. It wasn't that long ago that even when I was a child, my grandma shopped at Logan Square. There were big lots. There were, when my dad was a kid, there were big name stores there, and it just never is quite revived. There's been, I think, two events where they've kind of tried to throw around ideas and nothing's really happened. And I think, you know, part of being on that corridor could be, you know, you giving that spark or an idea. Because, you know, there's a lot of blank canvases. We have different areas coming down. And I think we have new businesses that are in there that, you know, are fantastic and would love promotion from, you know, members on the corridor authority, like La Mulata. 517 Coffee has fantastic coffee. I won't share how many other nice places there are because the first board might be listening in. But I appreciate, yeah, I know. I appreciate your commitment to the city, and I want to put that bug in your ear because that's one of the things that bothers me on top of, you know, the speeding and I think everything else that.
Right, it bothers me too. The one thing that I'm privileged to that a lot of people aren't, and I know you guys are in the community, so you see it too. Liquor stores are one of the things I think hold back our residents, our tenants at our company too. And so when we're asking them to spend money on the place that keeps them safe, like the place they live, they've already spent money at the payday advance and the liquor stores and all those places. And sometimes you have to take them out so you can have people spend their money wisely. And so I too agree that liquor stores and payday advances hurt our community versus helping it. They benefit from it, but we don't, and they don't either. So I agree.
They're extremely predatory, so I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Okay, well then I guess I'm looking for a motion, guys.
I would move the resolution of appointment for Jeremy Matthews as a business representative at the South MLK CIA. This term would expire July 31st, 2027.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mr. Matthews, this is gonna go to council Monday night at 7 PM, October 27th. Are you available to attend that meeting? Perfect. If something comes up, please contact Sherry and let us know otherwise, but if you aren't for whatever reason, you can get sworn in by the clerk as early as 8 in the morning next day. Thank you.
If you do come, we'll make it a special ceremony at council, so you'll be sworn in front of.
Yep, so bring your family, you know, whoever you'd like to come down to the well with you.
It's October 27th.
It's this coming Monday. Okay, moving down to C, resolution, setting a public hearing, a special land use 2025, special land use permit at 3011 Turner Street, authorizing a state licensed adult foster care small group home. Who do we have here to speak on that today?
Esther,
Okay,
Yep, can I get your name for the record?
my name is Esther Mwankenja.
You spell that.
My last name is MWANKENJA.
okay, well, thanks for
Thank
being here today, Esther. Please kind of go over your plans here for this adult foster care and let us,
Oh, thank you.
if you're here to speak on this as well, okay. You want to open it up, tell us a little bit about what you got going on, and Sue, feel free to jump in whenever you're ready.
Nothing much. I just want to take care of people myself. I'm LPN, licensed practical nurse. I've been working as a nurse for years. So I decided just to open my own, my own business, just to take care of people.
Do you have any open right now?
No, not yet, because I'm waiting for sewage, for water, board of water and light to come to inspect my home. Still in the process.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sue, do you want to give us a little bit of background on this?
Yes, it is a use permitted by special land use permit, and staff is supportive of this request. The planning commission also unanimously recommended that it be approved. It's for up to 12 residents in care at the facility would be. It's a large house, 6 bedrooms. Yeah, it's not nestled into the center of a residential neighborhood. It's more appropriately, it's good location for it because it's on Turner Street. There's commercial uses right across the street. We notified everyone within 300 feet. We didn't receive any comments on this. It requires very little parking, and they seem to have adequate parking. They may need to install 1 or 2 more spaces in the backyard, but it's a good location for a good use. The party's been vacant for a while. And if not for something like this, the way, with a 6-bedroom large house, it's liable to continue to sit vacant. So We're supportive of it. I guess that's all I have unless there are any questions. Like I said, it will have to be a state licensed facility, so there's gonna be oversight from the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And, the residents in care here are generally people with, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but people with, I believe, developmental
Mental
disability.
health and aged.
I want to say this is not a treatment center. This is merely housing. So it's people, they live there permanently. They would, if they need treatment, they would get that offsite.
All right.
But there will be licensed people providing care 24 hours a day.
I guess my question is with the outreach of the 300 feet in diameter around or the radius of the, how did you communicate with those residents?
We did publish notice in the newspaper, but we directly communicated with a postcard, notifying them of the public hearing. We'll do the same to your public hearing. And it goes to everyone with the 300 feet. We always go a little over than that, more like about 350 feet, just to make sure that there's no question as to whether, you were captured within that or not. But it's the property owners, the taxpayers, because that could be different, and the occupants of all real property within 300 feet of the site.
And then when did you send out that communication?
We're required to send it out at least 15 days prior to the date of the public hearing. That's what the state statute requires, and our ordinance mirrors that.
So when did you send it out?
I'm sorry, I don't have that.
Do you know if it was like this week? Was it last week?
No. Well, we haven't sent it out for your notice, for your public hearing yet, because it hasn't been set for the planning board. We sent it out. We have to get it to the newspaper. We have about 3-4 days that we have to get it to them before they can actually publish it. And we send our notices out about the same time that we send the notice to the newspaper to be published. We never wait till the 15th day. We always get it out before that, so that again, there's no question as to whether we met that deadline. And we send a copy of the public hearing notice to ourselves, so that we can prove that it went out. We send it to the planning office. When it comes to council, we send a copy to Sherry, the council offices, and the clerk's office as well.
Great, thank you, Sue. Okay, well, I appreciate you wanting to look after some people that definitely need the care. Do we have any questions for the committee?
So I was at the planning board commission, and if memory serves me, this was unanimously passed. I think there was like one question about the driveway, but I think those issues have been fixed, and I don't believe anybody was there to oppose this within the neighborhood. And in this house, it's an interesting spot where it sits. There's one house, I think, next to it, and then a church of some kind. And there's really nothing else around it until you get to Jean's Liquor Store on the other, it's probably 100 yards away. So it's a quiet neighborhood. I think this would be probably a good spot. It's right where Turner Street turns to 25 mile an hour. So, traffic is slower. It is a laid back neighborhood. It is quieter. I think it fits the needs. And this house has been sitting there, I think, being an eyesore for some time, whether it's the lawn or whatever it may have been. So, and it is a large house that, I'm sure they've had a difficult time finding a use for or reselling it.
See exactly where it's at now.
Yeah. And it actually gives, I think, the opportunity for you're going to be running, correct?
Yes.
Yes. The opportunity for folks to be able to explore a neighborhood safely, especially those back neighborhoods. And there's Jones Lake Park that's right there, which would be, a nice park to do recreational things in. I hear there might be a dock there with fish stock. So I look forward to this project personally.
Any additional questions, comments?
Yeah, so the 2 employees and caregivers in the facility at all times, that's a state requirement? It's
Yes.
part of the state license.
State requirement, 2 morning and 2 night.
2 morning and 2 night. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And then this is just general. In terms of SLUs, because these are land considerations, these run with the land. Okay, and then is there an ability, I get the state licensure piece, but is there an ability if in the future, as an example, we are not satisfied with the operator to pull back to SLU.
I would defer to Greg on that, but it's my understanding. No, but again, it's state license. So if there's concerns about how it's being managed, whether it's by this,
And I'm not worried about this operator.
Yeah,
I'm familiar, but I guess my concern is, sometimes with all due respect to the state, the policing of these types of things, if you will, isn't the best. It doesn't necessarily meet the expectations of our municipality, right? So I'm just curious, if in the future, there's really no way to,
No, they would have to be in violation of the grant of special land use. So if you don't like how they're running their business, that's not necessarily a violation of the grant of special land use. If the special land.
so give me an example, what a violation would be of that, especially.
Well, it'd have to be if they stop operating, or if they, for example, if she wanted to expand to have 16 people instead of a cap of 12, that would be in violation of the grant of the special land use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Would that include, say, were to sell it, something else were to go in there? That was different from.
yes, yeah. So
Or even not different, just if.
somebody else could take over the business,
Okay.
but if it were to stop being this, then
Become something else.
and it becomes something else. I mean, as long as that thing is otherwise approved or is otherwise permitted as a use within that zoning classification, that would be fine. But then I think at that point, once the special land use stops being used, it would be like a pre-existing nonconformity. So if a year passes, let's say it just becomes a rental apartment home for some period of time, and then somebody comes back in and wants to use it as an adult foster home, then they would have to reapply for the special land use. Does that make sense?
So,
Yeah.
I guess if we, and this is just me trying to understand the process. So, but if we issue an SLU, a special land use, and it runs with the property.
Yep.
I get, so that's the timeline? If it's not used within a year, if it's,
No.
I guess I don't understand how.
Treated like a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Right.
So that's like when we change zoning somewhere and I've been a mattress shop for a million years and I'm in a residential neighborhood, I get to continue to be a mattress shop until I stop being a mattress shop. And if I stop being a mattress shop for a period of time, and we have an ordinance that talks about this, then I can't reopen as a mattress shop. Nobody can move in and become a mattress shop. I've got to go back to being a house or something.
Do you know offhand what the period of time is?
I can look and find out if you'd like, but there you go.
12 months.
It is 12 months.
both consecutive.
So that's what I want to know. Okay.
If it was a mattress shop,
Sure.
because that's a perfect example, and then they decide to become a used car lot.
Yeah, they can't do that.
Unless it was within the same SLU.
Correct, unless used car shop is a permitted use by right under that zoning classification. In my mattress shop example, it would not be because I'm in a residential area. Everything is zoned residential. I can't become a used car shop. I can only carry on my use.
Right. Any additional questions, comments? Looking for a motion.
I would move the special land use permit.
We have a proper motion in place.
This is to set the public hearing.
This is to set the public hearing. Favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes and the public hearing will be set for Monday, October 27th.
Nope.
No,
November 17th.
November 17th. I apologize.
My fault for not saying.
Because we have to give the 15-day notification again, so that's why it has to be.
We'll set it on this Monday. The Pole City Council will set it this Monday, October 27th. But you need 15 days notice. And so to meet that, the next council meeting that it would meet would be November 17th.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. At the public hearing, I'd like, if you're able to attend the public hearing for any questions, which would be on November 17th, that would be the date. We'd like to have you come and Sue, if you're able to be there as well. Thank you. All right, moving down, resolution D, appointment of Chris Klein, city representative, member of Downtown Lanes Inc., board term to expire June 30th, 2027. Good afternoon, Mr. Klein. How are you?
Afternoon, doing well. How are you?
Doing good. I guess this is your opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself, why you want to serve on this board. And first, I gotta say, I seen you out cleaning windows at Downtown. I was like, man, you're a committed guy. Appreciate that. Perfect.
May not have seen photos.
and helping Lansing Sparkle. But
You have my address.
so appreciate the opportunity. I know many of you know a lot about me, but just for the benefit of all, my background, about 14 years of community and economic development experience, working with local nonprofits in the city of Lansing, worked several years at Lansing Economic Area Partnership, focused on the region, but mainly under the city contract. And then since 2022 at Lansing, DC, I was vice president. And then late June this year, became president and CEO of Lansing EDC. So with this board and being the city representative on the board, always making sure that our economic development strategies are aligned, being able to bring my expertise to the board, to the DLI board, learning of new initiatives and things that they're working on, just making sure that we're very much connected. And this plays out throughout the city as well, with our work on the corridor improvement authorities and that. So just kind of the other ground, very important. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. My, common question I ask for all these boards is, if you do get appointed, are you able to attend any of the constituent contact meetings to share some exciting information coming from your board?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. That goes for any of my various roles. I'd be happy to.
Appreciate that. I knew the answer before I said it, but I wanted to make sure it was on record. So, any additional questions or comments from council? Committee members, sorry.
Sure. Thank you. Two things. One, now I know I can't find your email because I've been spelling C, not a K. And then secondly, so actually three things. I know you have time. I'm going to ask anyways. Do you have time to serve on this board?
I do. It aligns directly with my responsibilities under the EDC, but also looking to shift from a board, resign from a board in order to make room for this and various other boards that become part of us.
And then my third question is, we've heard a lot. I have heard a lot of issues with DLI, and not necessarily support all businesses downtown. So in your view, what is the magic sauce to bring back the Washington Square and the downtown that when I was 21, 22 was hopping on Friday, Saturday nights? And don't say state workers, because I don't think that that's going to be the magic sauce.
I won't say state workers. I'll say people. And I think we're making great strides on that. When I say people, I mean 24/7, having residents downtown, that's a huge part of it. And so we have several hundred units under construction for apartments and other housing downtown. We've had great success in the last few years. That doesn't mean, it's mission accomplished, hang the banner kind of thing, but that's going to make a huge difference in having that traffic downtown, not just the lunch hour traffic, helping businesses extend hours, making that profitable for them. So I think that's going to make a huge difference. It'll bring in also different services and retail, being able to support that downtown. And I think the CSO project, although it's that short-term pain for long-term gain, I know you know that well with Michigan Avenue, but seeing, well, maybe it is all played out yet, but with having that infrastructure as well downtown, I think it's going to make a huge difference. So that's coming up here in the next year or so. So I think with all of the physical built environment improvements that we're going to be seeing, the investment in public infrastructure, as well as the development downtown, is going to bring a lot of activity. I think it's going to bring a lot of people, and then that's going to just bring more investment, not just in downtown, but we're already seeing that in areas throughout. So,
and I would say to you, I would love to see, especially with all the growth and people that are going to be living downtown, they're going to need something to do. We don't have any movie theaters. We don't have a Dave and Buster's or something similar downtown. And when you go to places like, I know we're not Chicago, But you go to places like that, they have those things within those neighborhoods, not neighborhoods, but downtown region, where you go and you have that kind of entertainment, the games, going to a movie, whatever it may be. Being able to do something other than drinking alcohol or eating. So I would hope that DLI and even with your other roles, we're kind of looking at that, like people are going to want to do something within walking distance. NCG or Celebration Cinema is not walking distance, or any number of entertainment things. I know that we're going to have, you've got Gray Wall Hall, you've got Ovation parking lot. So, there's opportunities there, but I think it could be bigger. So I would urge DLI, you being on this board, to look at things like that. Also, the other thing is, I have mentioned many times to the mayor and to Kathleen, we don't embrace the river here enough. And when I mean embrace the river, I mean like decorative lighting, like they do in Grand Rapids, really making that what it is, which is the center focal point of our whole city. So I would urge, because I'm going to vote yes, when you're on this board, to push for, it's the little cosmetic things, the small dollar, high impact things that make a difference. Just like the Lansing Center. It looks like you've got all these bright, beautiful things going on around at the ballpark. Sometimes the Nut House has concerts, there's lights down Michigan Avenue, and then you have a beige blob in the middle of it that just, it's ugly. And I've suggested lights of a decorative kind on that as well, or anything to spice it up. So I would just put that in the back of your mind, that I think there's a lot of opportunities. The palette certainly is beige.
I may, for a moment, I very much agree with your statements, especially the river. We turn our back on that for far too long. I mean, it's more of an industrial trash chute for much of our history, but there are great strides being made with activating the riverfront, and we're part of those efforts. We have, through some of the brownfield plans, some dollars to put towards activation of not just that connectivity from downtown to the riverfront across the river. We have great assets. We have the makings of a museum district with I-5 and the Rio Town, the Artie Olds Museum, as well as Riverfront Theater. So I think there are a lot of great assets that aren't necessarily very accessible. We have things going in right now. You mentioned Gray Wall Hall. We'll have Ovation. I think those will really come alive, once we have more of that traffic and people downtown, and that'll just breed more and more of what you're talking about, those additional entertainment outlets and things. But yeah, riverfront activation, couldn't agree more.
Thank you.
Additional comments, questions?
No, I agree with everything except one thing. It's a chicken and egg thing, right? So of course, getting back to creating the market conditions. And one of the things I appreciate about you is you've always understood the importance of creating critical mass downtown. One of the things I disagree with, though, and I totally get the push in terms of trying to get state workers back. We cannot supplant state workers with residents and think that we're going to have this huge net positive. The secret sauce has always been, we need the diversity of people downtown, right? We need people living downtown. We need people working downtown. We need corporate footprint. We need state government footprint. We need all of that, frankly, if we're really going to see downtown thrive. And how do you bring so many of these fantastic things that Ryan's talking about? You make sure that you have, again, a diversity of people downtown for different reasons, looking for different things in terms of their experience. And so that's the only thing I disagree with. I know folks at the state have gotten very comfortable working at home and mowing their lawns. I don't mean to piss anybody off, mowing their lawns. And
I don't have any lawns.
And I'm not saying it to, doing their laundry, et cetera, being able to do those things. So after 5 and on the weekends, they can enjoy life, and that's fantastic. But the taxpayer, we deserve, I think, folks downtown, frankly, and working downtown and being accessible downtown, kind of like we do with our own staff right here on 10th floor. So I would love to see a continued push by agencies like that and say, look, right, either get these workers back downtown. And I appreciate, as an example, some of the work that the chamber's doing. It might not be incredibly popular with everybody. But I'd love to see agencies push for that, including the DLI. I think it's important. And if they're not going to come back, then the state, I think, has a responsibility to the city. When we talk about parking lots, when we talk about leased space, when we talk about state-owned buildings, when we talk about, so I think you could be a part of that conversation. I know you're part of the conversation already, but I think through that particular entity, we can get some stuff done too.
Yeah, and not, stating like the complete absence of state workers. I'm not advocating for that.
No, I know.
I think it's something we've relied upon for a long time and really developed much of our city around that. I mean, there's some parking lots, those used to be neighborhoods. So now they're, underutilized. I think working together to find, those mutual solutions and hopefully making the city attractive enough for some of those folks that used to commute and, got very little benefit, 0.5% income tax, didn't really spend money downtown, although worked here. If we can attract those folks who want to live downtown and also work downtown, that'd be a huge win as well. So all of the things, I want all of the things. So
me too. And we should have always been talking about supplementation as opposed to supplanting or depending on one or not diversifying and it's just unfortunately short-sighted leaders in the past, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Great. With that, I'd move for a motion.
I would move the appointment of Mr. Christopher Klein, middle name Dave, for the appointment to expire, I believe it's 2027.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes. Mr. Klein, are you able to be here this coming Monday for an appointment?
yeah, the 27th.
27th, yes. Okay, great. We'll see you then. Thank you, sir. I think you're probably here for some other things as well on this agenda, but we're moving down to E, a resolution to set a public hearing for obsolete property rehabilitation act, Oprah District, 1204 South Washington Avenue, Little Rocket Ventures LLC. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. My understanding is we do have Chris Rockwell online.
Yeah,
virtually.
hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Do you want to state your name for the record?
Emily Walensky.
Okay, great. Okay, well, now's your time to speak a little bit about this 1204 South Washington and why you are requesting Oprah. Come on.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Oh, thanks.
Just getting the presentations passed out right now, Mr. Rockwell. If you want to go ahead and proceed with the.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So 1204 South Washington, we're so excited to talk to you today. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. Reotown is already a very interesting, very walkable. It's a lovely neighborhood, and but it has a lot more potential, has a lot of untapped potential. And this is a perfect example of a mixed-use building. It is it's across the street. It's at the heart of Reotown. It's across the street from really great coffee shops and stores, restaurants, B&L. So I'm sure you're well familiar with the area. The building itself is vacant. It's been vacant for quite a while. It's in rough shape. It needs a lot of investment. And our vision is to build on the cultural and the cultural relevancy of the area by building an art gallery and a residence upstairs that will have 24/7 activity between the store level storefront and the residence upstairs. The development team consists of myself as the lead developer. I have a prior experience in real estate investment. And again, I've looked across the state for different cities, different municipalities, and I feel so excited to get started to develop this property in Reotown. The other member of the team is in person, Emily Walensky. She can kind of speak to her role on the team.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Lansing. I moved back in 2021. And I am an artist and an entrepreneur. I owned a business up north in Michigan called Planetary Coffee. And my role will be in an operational capacity, so overseeing the day-to-day goings-on of the residential unit upstairs, and as well the daily operations for the gallery and like sort of an event space, kind of multi-function use of the commercial unit downstairs. So I'll be overseeing like curation and outreach of different events, and bringing in local and regional artists to feature their work and use available studio space within the mixed use retail component.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we have time for your questions, but just kind of logistics overview of the project. We have the building is 3,400 square foot. It's the heart of Rio Town. We are looking to activate the storefront with culturally relevant and a third home, if you will, or a third space for artists and art patrons. And upstairs, there will be a residential unit, at least one, most likely one. Total estimate of the redevelopment will be $350,000 is our budget. And then the last slide, you can see kind of the current conditions where it's well on its way to being blighted, but it has some urgent needs that we need to address to stabilize, which is why we are requesting Oprah district to be adopted for this property, so that we can begin stabilizing the building.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rockwell. Would you like to add anything to this, Emily?
Just very excited to like give back to my community. I've always wanted there to be more thriving, like interdisciplinary and like just community options for people. Some of the things you discussed earlier, just giving people a reason to be downtown, and downtown sits right between Rio Town and Old Town. If we can bridge that gap, so I know 496 goes right between downtown and Rio Town, but it's really a meager distance between these, vibrant hubs of our community. And I think having, there is some already very established art community in Rio Town. I think there's a burgeoning art scene. There's a lot of artists living and working in Lansing, and I think this will be a really supportive opportunity to provide more cultural vibrancy, as well as to like support the already like very diverse and rich artistic scene and creative energy that is here in Lansing.
If I may, I agree. And this block, although Rio Town's seen some recent investment in that, this block remains a challenge. Extending some of the retail and some of the commercial options along South Washington, it's been a bit of a challenge, and so it doesn't have the same density some of our other commercial districts. I think this will be huge for that area. Knowing there's the restaurant on that same block, but really just activating some of the storefronts there. And just regarding the Oprah, gave a brief overview in the third slide here of the presentation, and it was mentioned it's just the district. And so as the developers are working to finalize financing and the development plan, there will be an application for the certificate, which will be actually the abatement. So this just allows them to start some of that critical work to make sure that further damage doesn't occur on the building, without qualifying them from seeking assistance in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. So when, have you already purchased this property then? I see it says having control of the property. So when did you
Yeah,
purchase this property?
correct. Yeah, the building has been purchased.
When was it purchased?
Building was purchased in September, mid-September.
Thank you. And I guess my question is this property, in order your plans, what you're trying to do with it, is this contingent on the Oprah? Like if you were able to achieve
Yes, it
Oprah?
is. Yeah. Very much so.
I guess I have one more question. I'll open it up to the committee. Have you guys, with this venture, this Little Rock Ventures LLC, have you guys done anything like this before? You guys have any experience in the past?
This.
Yeah, so my past experience has been in I guess you could say flipping residential. So this will be my first mixed use building, but I've been looking for an opportunity like this. It's been on my radar for quite a while. So I'm really excited to find this building in this neighborhood.
Great. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee?
Yeah, so Chris, I guess I'm curious, do you know, when you look at this block, really what you have is you have one big contiguous, what looks like one development, but it looks like obviously these are separate buildings, probably separate owners, sorry. You know how many owners are in that strip?
Yeah, there are I think 4 or 5. Yeah, I know of the 4. I know the Rusty Mug, I know the family, and oh yeah, 5, Rock the Block, and then Prosthetics. Yeah, 5 total.
And one on the end of that is like, I think a grow up, cannabis grow operation, or it was, I don't think it is currently.
Would this district be just for this 1204 South Washington address?
Correct, yeah, we were, right, so I guess my question becomes, and this is more just process, because I'm a nerd like that, but could somebody, as an example, that owns 1204, could they actually apply for a district that actually is the entire stretch?
So, and I know
the reason I ask that is because obviously there's other bites at the apple for council and for the public to vet other requests, but now that becomes kind of a marketing tool for that area. Did you know, right, that this district exists, that you could apply for a certificate? These are some of the incentives that exist in terms of actually investing in that. So, I mean, can they do?
So this one is just the parcel itself for this development. I know we talked a little bit about doing a larger district. Believe it or not, it's more complicated than you'd think. But so we're working through the logistics of that, whether or not every single property would have to. There's just some challenges. We're getting guidance from not only city legal, but we need it from the state as far as how they see that. But we definitely want to try that in the future in a district. So we're kind of inching towards that, but time is really the constraint here, and we didn't want to hold up these folks by trying to pursue, that larger district. So that we just move forward with just establishing it on this parcel.
As long as you guys are exploring that and trying to answer those questions, that's where I was getting at.
Do you have any additional questions or comments from committee? Okay, sorry.
Just quickly, I'm excited that this is going to happen. That block, the Rusty Mug there, went in, but, realistically before that, it was, I was much younger when the Pop-Off Meat Company was there, which was a big deal. And since then it kind of went downhill. So to see a second business, I think that orthopedic place on the end, that's been empty there. So I think that this might spark further, I think there's a motorcycle club there too, might spark further investment in that small area. It's one of the last untapped rows of buildings, I think, within Rio Town. So I'm excited about this.
Great. The only thing I was going to add, and maybe you covered it, and I was just looking through my notes and missed it. Do you guys have any rough estimate in terms of when you think you're going to have your development plan together, financing, and then maybe be back before council with a cert request? We have.
My understanding was that this would be brought to the full council to pass the resolution.
No, not the district. I'm talking about coming back, right, to serve and then actually getting busy at work.
Yeah, our
like when we-
expectation is that in January or early, first quarter of 2026, we expect it to be an application for the certification to proceed.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from committee?
Just one further. Chris, do you know what the current property tax is on that parcel?
Yeah, I
Current,
don't know.
is it a question for Chris Rockwell or for Chris Klein?
Oh,
Chris,
whoever has the answer, Chris?
Okay. Current property taxes are, I'll say the 2025 taxes, I think were, I think that they were about $9,000, if I recall correctly, per year. But the valuation, the taxable value of this building is out of line with its current conditions. And so we've had to discuss with the tax assessors and have them go into this building and give a new taxable value for this building, because like I said, the taxable value is maybe at least twice, maybe like 2.5 times what the current market value of the building is. So that's just the current situation of this building.
we'll do an analysis with the certificate to show like the taxing impact and what the valuation is.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All right, then looking for a motion.
I would make a motion to set a public hearing.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, motion passes. And that public hearing will also be November 17th, 10th, November 10th.
This does not require the 15 days. They'll set it on Monday, the 27th, and it can happen the next meeting.
Okay, and so are any of you guys available for the 10th, when we bring it to council for the public hearing? Okay, if you guys can be
Yes.
here on the 10th, great.
You want a presentation this coming Monday?
Nope, we'll do it on the set, we'll do it at the public hearing. Thank you. Right, moving down to F, which is resolution to set a public hearing for obsolete property rehabilitation act, Oprah District 414 Baker Street, Maximilian Burtz. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Right, so kind of like what just happened before us, if you want to tell us a little bit about the property and then what your plans are, and I appreciate Mr. Klein's passing out the documents.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this project with you guys. Like my predecessors, it is very close to the Rio Town neighborhood, just on the border of the downtown area at Cedar Street and Baker. So it is a highly visible property. It is really close to that main corridor, Cedar Street. It's one property in from being right at the corner of Cedar Street and Baker. And this particular property has been an element of blight for that community for many years now. And because of its highly focal nature, I was attracted to it because it still has a viable architectural character that I think is worth retaining. And I think that those types of elements have a way of keeping the fabric of a community together. Several of the topics that were discussed earlier in this meeting sort of play into that same fact of keeping life and community in the downtown area, trying to keep a diversity so that we have the element of the past mixing with the elements of the new. But this particular project is not a massive undertaking. It is just the redevelopment of what is essentially a downtown duplex. It has the classic storefront elements on the first floor, and it would be 2 residences on the second floor. And so this particular project would bring life back into this small element of the community over there that is lacking anything but the restaurant type atmosphere right now. And so it is a goal of mine to bring the community back together and salvage architecture. I have a passion for the older brick structures of this area, and I have reclaimed several of them to be mixed use properties that are thriving and vibrant now. And I have noticed, and I think that it is a great thing that when you go in and you pick one of the worst properties in a neighborhood and you revive it and bring it back to life, how that creates an infectious nature for the properties and the communities around. I think it gives everybody a feeling that there is hope and there is desire to live and improve these elements that sometimes generations have forgotten. Thank you very much. I open to any kind of questions.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Klein?
Just a couple of things. So we've done a little bit of work with Max in the past. He's actually a graduate of our first cohort of the Seed Academy for Emerging Developers. So exciting to see folks putting that into action. But to your point about investing in those really troubled properties in an area and just like being a catalyst, some of the work that was done along the 900 block of West Saginaw, and we hear about now with Moneyball moving their headquarters there, the Lonzos looking to invest in the former Parks Furniture building and some of the buildings along there. A lot of that sparked with the redevelopments that Max had done, and I think sold those properties, but we had a few of those previous projects shown here, but also great credit to the city and to council for the support of the facade improvement program. So those were also a component, I think, of all of those to help spark that and help really get that moving. So just a nice story there about some of that work being done. This one's pretty extensive. I don't know. The building that the 414 Baker Street has some massive challenges structurally, and again with the roof system and everything too. So that's why we're going for a district in this case, just so that doesn't get any worse in the meantime, while we're working on getting the full capital stack together, because it will be a challenging building, but we know Max is up for it, and we've had a lot of conversations on this, and he's been really working towards like bringing this to life. So.
All right, I appreciate that. Can you explain real quick though what this parking flex space of 1,000 feet exactly what is?
Well, essentially, one of the options is to create the first floor as an open or a white box space. And one of the potential options that I've discussed with Sue is to utilize a garage door style storefront that would give an element of flexibility so that it wouldn't be able to be any kind of shop space for automobile use. It'd just give that space the ability to access for parking or for a work type scenario where the business might not necessarily be a retail establishment, maybe a service establishment of some type could utilize the space as well. I think it just gives a wider variety of options to a potential tenant.
That would be obviously from the south side of the building, I'm assuming, with the.
Actually from the north side off of Baker Street.
Now, does that work with the form-based code?
I wasn't really prepared to talk about this today, but the simple answer to your question is no, it doesn't. And I'm sorry, Max, but there's issues with this as well that we've consulted with our transportation engineer on and so forth with regard, because that building is right up to the public sidewalk. So vehicles are coming in and out of there. You know, there's concerns naturally about that. Somebody's riding their skateboard or just even running or walking down the sidewalk. So our transportation engineer has asked for some information so that he can determine whether it's going to be a safety issue or not. But so that is up in the air. the use of that to ground floor space for any type of underground parking where it would involve coming out the front entrance of that building because of the safety aspects of it. The other issue is providing parking, because this is pretty much lot line to lot line, is providing parking for the residents of the two units in the building where they can park. So there are some issues with this. Max is aware of those. We have spoke about that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your perspective on that.
I appreciate. These are no challenges, and again, I'm not bringing this to having the full application yet, but allowing to at least stabilize the building. And again, this is much of the reason why this building is in the shape that it's in. Is just the difficult nature of the parcel itself being basically just the building, and the other commercial spaces around it to make sure that we activate that. So actually working.
Great. Okay. Do we have any additional comments or questions from committee?
Yeah, just real quick, you actually talked about it, but I don't know that everybody completely understands, right? So many times when somebody comes forth with an over district application, they're coming with a cert application at the same exact time. You talked a little bit about stabilization. You talked there like, structural stabilization and really not jeopardizing a future certificate request. Can you just talk about that? Like why does this matter that this district is created?
Yeah, so the short answer would be if somebody pulls a permit for a project on a building that and then wants to seek this afterwards, they will not be able to. They'll be disqualified if it's not in a district. And so to our conversation previously about doing a larger district with multiple parcels, being able to get folks involved in that, there is doesn't mean that they can be working on that for years and years and years, but it does give, I believe, 6 months for them to pursue something. So if they get a building and, the electrical is a hazard, or, the roof has issues, like if there is work that needs to be done, permits that need to be pulled, they can do some of that immediate work without jeopardizing this specific abatement. We see this with tools such as Brownfield, where there is like a look back and it doesn't disqualify folks. It's just any of these abatements that have like a district. That's why they're kind of put in place. It's to say, we want to put these incentives within areas, and then folks can seek those certificates on top of that. So I hope that explains.
I just wanted to talk about this stuff. I certainly appreciate kind of your commitment to preservation, adaptive reuse, those types of things. We often hear on council that, in the city of Lansing, we have this culture of just tearing stuff down. And when you go to other communities, they do a much better job of preserving and things of that nature. But what folks don't know when they drive to those areas, I've done a lot of digging in my time on council, is that those communities heavily incentivize preservation. They heavily incentivize restoration. They heavily incentivize. And so sometimes we get people that complain about, the lack of preservation in the city, and this culture of tearing down. And then a lot of times they're the same people that are complaining about incentives, not understanding that so many of those communities, that's how they get it done, because these projects don't pencil out without. And so I appreciate, again, your commitment to this, and then also exploring the toolbox that we have at our disposal to do some of this work, understanding that it sounds like there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of questions that have to be answered. You certainly have your work cut out for you, but thank you. We appreciate you.
Do we have any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, looking for a motion to set the public hearing. So we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. And this will also go November 10th?
Yep.
So Max, Chris, are you guys able to attend that meeting?
Yes.
So November 10th will be the public hearing, and then you guys can do your presentation under special ceremonies. Great, thank you. All right, with that, we are moving down to our final agenda item, G, Resolution Act 3, 2025, utility easement at 2020 and 2600 East Mount Hope Avenue for Consumers Energy. All right, Mr. Krasinski.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for being here and sticking with us.
First, it was tabled.
I would move to untable.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place to untable this. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. It is untabled. All right. So, city attorney, I know that you, yeah, everybody should have this amendment to this easement.
Based on your email.
Sure.
That you just had it.
first, Greg, do you want to?
Yeah.
Can you please explain what you changed?
Sure. I mean, the main thing that was requested, at least for me, relating to the language in the easement had to do with, as I understood it from my notes, the desire that if they were going to come back after it's been put in place, that, and if they were going to come and change anything on the surface or whatever they had to do, that they would come request that from the city, give us notice, request approval, and then get that approval before they do it. And so I proposed that. This is the standard language related to that. If after the initial construction and or installation of the pipeline within the easement area, sorry, I'm in the second half of paragraph that is titled restoration on page 2. Initial construction and or installation of the pipeline within the easement area and any and all restoration. If after that, consumers determines that it needs to further disturb or modify the surface of owner's land in furtherance of the purposes of this easement, consumers must first provide notice of the intended disturbance or modification and may not proceed until it has received permission from the owner, which permission will not be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. That's all standard. That's how we do that. It's essentially saying you got to come tell me and ask permission, and then I will give you permission unless I have a reason not to give you permission. So that's where that is not unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. That also means we have the obligation to actually respond once they give us that. We can't just sort of put it in a box and never respond to them. And then they requested the addition of the final sentence, which I couldn't really say no to, because they have obligations if something happens. Notwithstanding the foregoing, in the event of any emergency or threat to the public health or safety, consumers may proceed with any work required to address said event or circumstance and shall provide owner notice as soon as is reasonably practicable. So if the pipeline explodes or if there's some event that they've got to get down there and repair immediately, they're not going to wait for us they're not going to wait to say we're going to disturb some shrubs. And then we have to wait, and they've got like a leaking pipeline. They've got environmental obligations they have to meet in such an event. So those are those two sentences. I know that there were also questions, many towards Mr. Kaczynski regarding trees generally, but this is less about trees. At least my job is looking at trees. I'll say that. All right, thank you. If you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer.
Who's the owner? Who makes a decision?
City is the owner, so manager of all
city,
real
you mean?
property is mayor.
So the decision, if they were to go in and say, we want to cut down these old oaks, would be done behind a closed door. Wouldn't be a public process.
Correct.
And
The
so
way it's
then
written.
can you fill me in? On the first page, it still states owner shall not plant any trees within easement. Consumers shall have the right from time to time to enter owner's land to trim, cut down, and otherwise remove and control any trees, brush, roots, and other vegetation within the easement area.
Yes. So they've got an underground pipeline, and if they have something that has roots that damage that pipeline, that's not good. That's going to be, that's from their perspective, compliance with EPA and Eagle rules and regulations. So that's why that language is in there. But that's very similar to the language that they use. They use it for underground pipelines. They also use the same thing for, so they're not going to come in and trim the trees because they don't have transmission lines. The trimming of the trees is generally referring back to transmission lines. But if they need to cut down or remove any trees, brush, roots, etc., they're mostly concerned about underground penetration of something that could damage the pipeline.
So, and I'm not a tree expert, but I assume that some of that old growth is going to continue to grow roots and eventually become a problem for the pipeline and eventually be said cut down.
Well, it's got to be in the easement area.
There's some really old trees in the easement area.
Okay, I confess I am also not an expert in trees, and I would direct it towards anybody else that's not.
So the tree roots will grow down. The one thing also about this is going at a minimum of 10 feet and up to 36 feet deep, depending, because you have some elevation changes along there. So yeah, we are in favor of the underground boring to protect those trees you're talking.
I guess I will offer, generally, the utility company doesn't have an interest in coming in and cutting down a tree or trimming a thing unless they know that they need to do it in order to preserve the thing that they're doing. So if they're able to do a directional bore and not have something damaged, I can't imagine they're gonna come in and cut down a tree but that's based on my interactions with utility companies elsewhere and doing other things. They're not in the business of going out and spending the money to trim a thing if they don't need to in order to protect their.
And I get that. I think my main concern is, and I hear what everyone's saying. We're talking not about BWL that we can call up and we own a share in. This is a publicly traded company that could care two shits about the city of Lansing or trees. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Okay.
And so that is my concern. My other concern is it's going to end up looking like the other side of the road where the gas pipeline is in right now. We walked it. I walked it with Adam. The other side of the street stripped out, all the way on the easement. I know that's part of a wetland over there. I think this side is part of a wetland too.
There is some wetland on the south end. Yeah, and I have
full
update on that. Correct. Yeah, you're in the floodplain. Yeah. You know, this is Red Cedar, over Crego, into Fenner. Absolutely.
You said you had an update on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to give an update?
Sure. So from our last meeting, there was questions about what is going to be overhead, what is going to be above ground. Currently, there are yellow, what they call cathodic protection tubes. And I'll say approximately 4 feet high, yellow tube, about this big. Those are currently in the easement. They are going to be moved, you know, with the new pipe. They would go with that. Same thing with the yellow signs, less than a no parking sign that are up there. Those are probably a little bit lower than those yellow tubes, just announcing that there is a gas pipeline there. We have no issue with these and understand that these are the only parts that are going above ground on the easement. Along with, they're going to be doing construction in the area when they install it. There is one additional tree that is west of the cemetery entrance that's partially uprooted. This tree will need to be removed. This tree has been marked and the city will be receiving additional $500 for that tree. There will be some clearing of brush, items under 5 inches, to create sight lines during this project. This is mostly grapevine and invasives. Any fence that they would need to remove during this project, Consumers Energy will contact myself and we'll determine if it needs to be replaced, left open, etc. The directional bore drill will begin at the southeast corner of Mount Hope and Aurelius and head west. The trees on the west side of Fenner are coming out. Is of the drive is this will be the location to return back underground and where construction, stringing, welding will be taking place. The entrance, remember from the last time, will remain open. That the line that is being replaced here is high pressure. The line on the north side of Mount Hope is low pressure until Fidelity. After Fidelity on the north side, it returns to high pressure there. So that again, low pressure on the north side, high pressure is what we're talking about here on the south side.
No, Brett, when you say, just for clarity, when you say just past Fidelity, are you talking about just west of Fidelity?
East of Fidelity, it returns. So right now from Mount Hope east to Fidelity, it is low pressure.
East of what though? Aurelius? East of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It may go, it may head further to the west of Aurelius, but there was questions about, there's a line on the north side and there's a line on the south side. What's up? One is high pressure, one is low pressure. Maybe that's a better way to explain it. And we just leave it at that because that was the question. So, okay.
There was one tree that was previously marked west of the Fenner entrance. And that is approximately a 10-inch oak that was previously marked. In my opinion, this is probably the most valuable tree of the ones that they've marked. There was another one that was a honey locust in there, but there is one oak that's about 10 inches right along that fence line. To the west of, to the east of the culvert there. So they are going under the culvert, okay, with the directional board. There was questions about that. With there's a pipe that comes from the north side of Mount Hope to the south, and there was questions about where they're going with that culvert under it. Okay. Further to the west of the Evergreen entrance, they will be clearing in the grass and wheat growth there that was previously cleared with the BWL power line clearing. We have no issues with them in that area. Again, that was already cleared for power lines. And I did want to clarify, I know I said this the last time, but we're not planning on replanting trees in this area. So this stuff will continue to grow up in this area again, but we're not planning on planting in this location.
But they will be in a different park or?
Absolutely. We're committed to doing that both on our right of way trees and then in park trees as well.
Any additional questions or comments from committee? I did want to open up to Loretta. I seen you had your hand up.
I still think that the best way to address these concerns, especially the idea that it could be approved in the future by an owner of who knows what, who's in office at that time and the mayorship or whatever, the city manager, whatever it is. I think if we say, and this is a quote, no future alterations to landscape above or below ground without going through this same approval process. In other words, planning and development, city council, etc. Then you're secure in knowing that it's going to be properly addressed, given the public an opportunity to kick in. And the trees and other vegetation, we need clarity. Are they gonna go, every 5 years, they're gonna go brush cut that again and it's just never gonna be able to get grown back up? Or are they gonna clear it, plant the pipe and then leave the brush alone in perpetuity unless they have to intervene for some emergency or repair? So I think that's the language, is no future alterations to landscape above or below ground without going through the approval process first.
I appreciate your comments on that. City attorney, is that feasible?
Well, if any, I'll say this. I have no idea if consumers will accept that. So I can't answer that aspect of it. I will say that when we got this, they indicated that was, they're willing to give us what we have inserted because they appreciate the sensitivity of both the park and the cemetery, but that they would not entertain that in other easements. It's very much out of the ordinary for them. But that doesn't mean that it can't be asked. I will say it will, describing the process, it would require specific description of what the process is. Because, well, yes, this is a document that gets recorded, and so long as they continue to use it as a gas pipeline, then it remains until they stop using it as a gas pipeline. So I don't know what the structure of government will be at that time. It's usually, and I will say also, it is highly out of the ordinary in an easement document, a utility easement document, to have subsequent government legislative process or even subsequent approvals for this kind of stuff in a document like that. Generally, there's easements all over the place. We just don't know them or think about them because they do what they do and nobody knows or thinks about them again.
Sure.
Yeah, so with this, with that wording, you're not sure if they would take it, but it almost sounds like their standpoint on this is they're doing us a favor when in fact they're taking our land and using it. So they really need us to make that profit off of that gas pipeline. You know, this is the same company that left, 10 years worth of toxic bullshit off of Waverly Road that they've got, or Willow, they've got to clean up, and then bailed out of the city for a new location. But they're doing us a favor by giving us that wording. I'm not tickled, impressed here with that. You know, this is a gas line for them to make a profit off of the gas that they're selling. We're just trying to preserve, like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is one of the untouched, somewhat untouched natural areas we have in Lansing, along with the cemetery, which is sacred, in my opinion, also. So, you know, if that's the attitude they have, this is an easy no vote for me. But I mean, they're making money off of getting this gas pipeline through. I would think that they would be more willing, I know that they said they understand the special circumstances, but I'm not sure if they really do understand that Fenner is different from anywhere else. It'd be like trying to bore through the Mason-Esker up in Northtown, or knocking half of it down to build something stupid. So, I mean, do you think they're completely unwilling to
I have
that kind of language?
No, I have no idea. I'm not offering that.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I think the function of this committee is if that is something that you want explored prior to us considering it as a committee and kicking it out before council, because we have to be able to go and tell our council colleagues, here's what we did, right? And here's what the answers were, and here's what, so I don't think we're ready to move on. I think it's clearly, we want to tighten up the language a little bit. And I think obviously there needs to be some direction for the city attorney. But when I go in front of my colleagues, I want to make sure that all of these questions have been addressed and that we do know the position of utility, because I'm not certain I would support it either if that's the path they take. I don't know.
Okay, I do, 1 second, Joanne. I see you had your hand up earlier and I got a comment.
Question I would have would be back to what Greg spoke about with an emergency situation. If you got an emergency situation, you can't go through.
I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think anybody talked about or suggested that we take that language out in terms of emergency.
Emergency would
I think they need to be able to prove and document the fact that it was an actual
Absolutely.
emergency, right?
What I'm hearing, if I may, is that there's a desire to continue for the server modify, provide notice and intended disturbance. It may not proceed until it has received permission from the owner, including, and I would insert legislative process into that, essentially describe
Correct.
legislative process.
Because I think that, and to be fair, I think that's the public way to do it. Because at the end of the day, I think the public should have an input.
Yeah, okay.
Or nap.
Well, yeah. Let me think about it, only because that's not functionally how an easement would typically operate. I mean, the easement is the grant of a right to do a thing on property. It's not the grant of the right to do anything in this land. If they were able to do anything, we would be selling them the strip. We're giving them the ability to go underground, to put a pipeline, to run gas, and that's it. If we're saying future modifications of the surface would require future modifications of the surface pipe. Okay.
The same legislative processes.
Sure, but ordinarily, I mean, I'm gaming this out because tomorrow I'm going to throw Brett under the bus for this one. Sorry, Brett. But tomorrow Brett could show up and say, I'm mowing the whole thing. I mean, there would be public outrage and Brett would probably get fired. Don't get me wrong, but that's not like, that would not be a thing that would rise to the level of legislative process. Do you know what I'm saying? So I've got to make sure that what we're requiring here matches with the grant of the easement. If they want to modify the easement, that does have to come back through, but that has to come through anyway. So if they say, I got a 15-foot wide path, I need 20 feet, that would come back. That's a modification. It's not, that is a grant of new use of land. But I mean, I understand the request, and that I hear that. I just have to, it may be more than simply modifying this sentence here. I might have to add something or modify something back in the top sentence.
Well,
Perhaps the question could be, we see this with, we talk about line 5. I know it's a different ballgame, but perhaps there's another option here that we're missing that consumers could do to go a different direction with this line to get the gas to where they need to get it to.
Well, right. I expect if the council says no, they will have to go somewhere else.
They're going to get the gas to wherever they are trying to get it to make money.
Brett, did you have something you wanted to add?
I mean, we talked about that with consumers. When you have an active gas line, you need to be at least 5 feet from a new line. I said, what about the road? You got a lot of other utilities in the road that would prevent that, number one. Number two, for putting this in the road, all the way down there. Now, in a 2-lane road plus a turn lane, we have issues. It's coming up. It's coming out, meaning the road. So there is problems with them putting it in the road, number one. But the other part of that is if we're even in there, my goodness, now we're ripping up a road. So.
Okay, so I guess if this isn't ready to move and we're looking at getting some answers and some amendment to this easement, this 12-inch feeder line, high pressure feeder line, what is this serving exactly? How many residential homes, how many businesses? I'd like to know that as well. Sorry, but it's a question I'd like to see answered.
Any other questions for consumers?
No, I don't want that.
Because I'm gonna, now the next thing beyond that is, are you talking city residents? Are you talking?
Just our residents here in Lansing.
Our residents, so
And
to
businesses.
the line and any businesses.
Okay, so I do see, Joanne, you had a question.
Yeah, two things for you. First, it's keeping in mind that this entire project, of course, includes 2 city-owned properties, that includes 2 private residences. And it's been 3 weeks since Gary and I have asked Consumers Energy if they plan to use eminent domain. In other words, condemn the property. While that doesn't affect city or public-owned property, because eminent domain doesn't apply, it indeed could reveal their intentions. So, and it could guide your decision. So I see the interest already potentially in tabling this, and it would be interesting for us to hear from them. Do they plan to use eminent domain or don't they? Is there potentially really some other option for them that none of us here have even imagined? We don't know. So anyway, that's been 3 weeks since we asked about that. Their response could guide your decision. It also shows that they're not in a rush. And so you don't need to be either. And then the other point I wanted to make is there's a possibility you have a public comment virtually that joined late today.
That's our city TV.
Is it now? Okay, they may be. Thank you.
Okay, Loretta.
Just wondering why Consumers is not here today and insist that they be here next time.
Oh, we did last time.
Yeah, we did. And my understanding is that property owner acquired an attorney and they're not willing to come to the table now. Am I wrong about that? Maybe I am wrong about that.
So you and I spoke about why Consumers wasn't coming to the table. And part of it is, yes, you have a public meeting that is involving some private property owners that they are have spoken with. So that is, and that's why, again, I said, what questions do you need for me to ask of them to come on that? Because yeah, they're not going to mix where we have a mix of public and private.
I got just a statement for this. if you make your easement language restrictive enough to where you're only dealing with the one pipeline, it does not incentivize or, well, it cuts off their options to do whatever they want to do. I mean, there's been a existing pipeline there for the last, well, since 1953. But what I'm saying is having a little faith in consumers, if you write the easement to where it's just the one pipeline, once you got it in, that's it. There's no putting a second one in. There's no putting a high power transmission line overhead because that's not part of the initial easement. Limits there. I mean, they're a company for profit. I mean, they're not going to be vindictive, come cut that 150 or 250-year-old oak tree out of spite. And they would do it. I personally would trust them a little bit. You got to give them a little bit of slack. I mean, they are a multi-billion-dollar. I mean, and if they did something like that out of spite for no reason at all, the optics would be terrible for them. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that 2 cents in. Okay.
That makes sense. Did you still have a question, sir?
Yeah, and actually it was to something Brett said that Loretta had said. If there's an emergency, obviously, we don't want them to go through the legislative process. They should be able to address the emergency issue right then and there, because I mean, it's an emergency. And she did say that, so I just wanted to bring that back out, that she did say that there is wiggle room for an emergency situation, like there probably already is, because, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's asking to remove that. You know,
No, I don't think she was. I'm just.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is, Greg, can you talk about, just for the record, this body's ability or lack thereof through this process to designate future revenues to specific accounts?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. Ordinarily, right. Ordinarily, well, you're asking either a very big question or a small question. So I'm going to try to answer the smaller one, if that's okay. In this process, generally speaking, oh, I don't have it right in front of me. That's fine. In this process, generally speaking, funds that come in go to the general fund, and then they sit in the general fund until it's time for the next appropriation, right? If there is the times that gets deviated from is when an asset or an item is being sold that belongs to and then, right, so generally funds come in, and then, you know, accounts are created, money gets put into whatever sub-account of general fund. The time that's deviated from in like sort of a mid-year resolution that is not either an amendment to the budget or the budget itself is when you have an asset that is sold or a property that is sold that belongs to or is otherwise credited to an enterprise fund or an enterprise activity. So if like sewer fund were to sell land somehow, or city land were to be sold that is otherwise being used by sewer, that money could be sent directly back to sewer fund, or parking. If parking lot gets sold, that money is going to get directed back towards parking fund. I don't think that you have necessarily enterprise fund. You have enterprise funds, but you don't have a general enterprise fund or just general parks operation.
The cemetery is an enterprise fund.
Sure.
And so that wouldn't qualify for going back into the cemetery.
It certainly could. It probably would anyway, would be my guess. I mean, administratively it happens, but I know that there have been times in the past where resolutions have indicated, you know, this go back to that, whatever that fund is, because this is that asset. But I also know that like, I don't think a parking lot has been sold that didn't go to the parking fund, because the parking fund pays to maintain the parking lot. So similarly for the cemetery fund.
Change the question. Good question.
So does that make sense?
I mean,
you know
what I heard is, right?
When you have an asset that, when you're selling or disposing an asset, yeah. So in this instance, right.
In this instance,
I would, and I frankly, I would expect it to go, I would expect it to.
Yeah, I know, but if we want to be just very clear. with that,
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 And I can get with that language. I don't know. We've drafted it a few times for parking lots.
Awesome. That'd be great. Loretta?
Two things, to speak to his comment. I have lived for 40 years, directly north of the Board of Water and Light Consumers Energy power lines. And I can tell you from personal experience, they are trustworthy. They have both made promises that they did not keep, recommendations that they did not follow, commitments to do certain things that never got done. And then they denied they made the commitment to do them. So first off, no, they're not trustworthy. And second, when we agreed to the sale of the third of an acre lot at North Cemetery, it was done with the stipulation that the funds from the proceeds of that sale were dedicated to that cemetery and that place. So there's not, in my view, too much difference here. It's an easement, it's not a sale, but the way they want to act, it might as well be a sale.
Oh, I appreciate that. Okay, so
I've moved to table this.
okay, so we have a proper motion in place. We can bring this back to this committee in a future time and I have more questions then. Brett, did you get the questions that were asked? Sorry, I would have gave you those up front.
One from you.
I think, did we do it all a vote on the
Oh,
motion?
I'm sorry. I apologize. So we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
You want to know how many residents does this serve?
Correct.
And that's the only question from
Residents and businesses,
businesses.
the Lansing area, in Lansing proper.
Lansing proper.
Right.
From, as part of this easement.
Correct, this 12-inch feeder.
But it would go, so it does go, around Fidelity Road, it crosses over to the north side then, with high pressure there, but I will get you the facts. I believe I understand the question. And I'll get you the numbers.
That's the only question?
I think that's the only question. And then for him,
law.
and then we have for law.
And that was,
Greg has requests. I've got some homework.
Awesome. Okay. All right. With that, no further business. We are adjourned at 5:21. Make sure.
Yep.
what a statement.
Okay.